All right. So when you're looking at variances and you're trying to assess if you can give someone VTO, you're going to want to understand, of course, how to read each individual line and then the bottom line to figure out what's going on and what's going to happen if I take this person off the schedule. When it comes to giving VTO, I guess the first thing that we want every agent to be reminded of is if they are wanting VTO to come in later for their shift. So, for example, maybe they're scheduled to start at 12. We ask that they reach out to us at least 30 minutes before their shift starts, and they get the approval for that VTO at least 30 minutes before their shift starts, just so that they're pre-planning and that we're approving this well ahead of time and it's not a last minute decision. If their schedule starts at 12 and they're reaching out at 12, I would give them 30 minutes of a tardy. Even if I end up VTOing them the full day, I'm still giving them 30 minutes of T's or tardies or points because they didn't reach out to me ahead of time. You know what I mean? And so it's like, hey, I can give you VTO for this day if you can, but just a reminder to reach out to me 30 minutes ahead of time so you won't get points for the first 30 minutes, being that you just reached out when your shift started. When looking at VTO, you're going to want to be looking kind of at the bottom line totals. This right here is required, and this right here is our over-under. So this basically shows if the number is white, it shows that we're positive, and it shows by how much we're positive. If the number is red and it has a negative sign in front of it, it means that we're down a couple people that hour, and it shows by how much. So right now at 2 o'clock, we're over by 10 and a half people. But next hour, we're only over by 3 3/4, 75% of people. And that's probably because a lot of people are getting off at 3 p.m. from that 6 a.m. shift. Then at 4, we're over by about 4.5. But then at 5, we're under by 3 people. So if we gave anyone VTO starting at 5, let's start that at 6 instead, because we're understaffed by 3 people at 5. And then so forth and so on. So when you're making decisions for VTO, you got to pay attention, where are we understaffed and why? And let's make sure we're not sending people home during that time to further understaff that interval. So if anyone, who works 8 to 5, I can VTO them because I know from now until 5 p.m., we're 100% overstaffed. It's not until after 5 that we're understaffed. So if they started at 6, 7, or 8 o'clock today, I know they get off at 3, 4, or 5. So I can VTO them. Just keep in mind right now it's 2 to 3. So this, you know that you can only VTO 3.5 people, half meaning, VTO them at the half hour. Not that you can VTO half of a person. But if you VTO, this many people, 3.5 people, then you will see this number go from 4.75 to 1.75. Because, if you get rid of 3 here, then you're also getting rid of 3 here if they also were scheduled for that hour. So, for example, if you've got someone who is scheduled to be off at 5, they're going to be affecting these 2 hours, versus if you have someone that's scheduled to be off at 4, they're only going to be affecting this hour because they're scheduled off for that time anyway. So moving on, we've got a negative variance right here at 5. So we know for all of these people scheduled at 5, we've got to retain them as much as we can to fill that variance. Maybe even these people can come in a little bit early and get off a little bit later. If there's still VTO available at that time, looks like if everyone shows up, we can do about 3 or 2. But as we start updating attendance, if Aaron wanted VTO for today, we would probably need to send him home starting at 6, because we know we'd need to retain him until 5 to keep that variance. We might be able to give, if he had all his training done, we might be able to give him a couple hours to get in